Hello and welcome to ABP Live. I have with me today veteran journalist, researcher, and author Rajeev Bhattacharya. He's come up with his second book, ULFA and the Mirage of Dawn. We will hear from him entire scenario, the security situation that is unfolding in Northeast, what has been the history of it, and everything else. Welcome to ABP Live, Rajeev, and thank you so much for your time.
I'm extremely grateful to ABP Live for giving me this wonderful opportunity to come here and say a few words about the Northeast, about my book. Extremely
Sure.
grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Rajeev. So the basic idea behind doing this interaction, of course, is your fantastic book, which I think everybody should grab a copy of. But, quintessentially being a North Indian, Delhiite, and also for others in India, whenever we think of Northeast, we think of insurgency, we think of, conflict-ridden region. Yes, it is beautiful, but it has its own tension. So we'll go back a little bit in history. If you can start with the fact that why did Alpha get created and what is the ethos on which they lived at that time, and eventually we'll come to the present day situation.
You see, Alpha, if there had been no Alpha, there would have been some other armed organization. If you see the history of Assam from 1947, some of the colonial policies were also being pursued by the Indian government. As a result of which, a section of people thought that continuous agitations are not going to yield any results. So let us adopt a different path, let us take up guns. That is how we can compel New Delhi to redress our grievances. At the same time, if you have a look, as Alpha started, the roots can be traced much earlier. Even in 1979, also the Assam movement started. Assam movement adopted the Gandhian model of non-violence. Alpha people took up guns. So there was an ambience of disenchantment, alienation. This was because continuously, for some very mysterious reasons, New Delhi had refused to understand the problems of Assam or even the Northeast. And when you don't understand the problems and you refuse to understand, there can't be any solution.
So what were those problems?
See, first and foremost, the problem of illegal immigration.
Okay.
Continuously, wave after wave, that started from the colonial regime. Then domination by outsiders. Thirdly, economic problems, unemployment. Assam, during the time when India achieved independence, Assam was ranked number 4 among all the states in terms of GDP. But by 1979 or by the late 70s, the Assam's economy had plummeted, had gone down so badly that there was mass unemployment. There was large-scale grievance, unresolved issues. I'll give you an example. Crude oil from Assam was pumped out. There was a demand for a refinery. Crude oil from Assam was pumped out for the refinery in Barauni.
And in the 1980s?
No, that was in 60s.
60s, okay.
60s, okay. So the people thought that, okay, it was our crude oil. It was crude oil from Assam. Why should it go to Barauni?
Right.
Why not in Assam? So a small refinery was established in Guwahati after an agitation broke out. So this set of grievances had been building up since a very long time. But there was no, Delhi probably refused for mysterious reasons to understand the problems, and which is why there had been no solution. Even now there is no solution. Even now, after so many decades, we don't have any solution. Take, for example, what happened to the NRC. The government is silent. Okay? Now, a massive problem which people have not been giving attention to is the riverbank erosion, deforestation. The climate has changed. I see them as a greater security threat than the separatist groups.
So, if I can ask you, when we think of Assam, of course, there is this Alpha problem. Then there was this Bodoland issue, the demand for a separate homeland. How did all that come about?
You see, the demand for Bodoland has to be seen in a different perspective and also in the same perspective. In Northeast, at one point of time, perhaps in the late 90s, there were as many as 103 insurgent outfits. This is unprecedented in the world. Much more than in Africa, or much more than in Myanmar also. Okay, now in Myanmar, probably because of the small groups that have come up,
Yes, it's a
PDFs,
different situation.
more than 350 PDFs,
Mhm.
along with the EAOs, larger groups.
Mhm.
Now, at that point of time in the Northeast, there was an estimate done by some think tank. There were 103 insurgent outfits of different categories.
Mhm.
Okay, so Boroland movement in Boroland in the Boro inhabited areas, we had two major insurgent outfits, NDFB and BLT.
Mhm.
Now, their demand, the NDFB was demanding sovereign status like Alpha, but the BLT settled for a homeland, for a sixth schedule area.
Mhm.
Now, I would say that is because of Assamese chauvinism.
Okay.
Okay, Assamese chauvinism also because not only Boroland, it was also the other hill states were also very upset with Assamese chauvinism.
Okay.
Starting from Mizoram,
Mhm.
when the famine broke out in Mizoram, the Assam government did not understand the problem. Rather, it launched army operation, military operations. Likewise, you go to Meghalaya, you go to the other hill states of Arunachal Pradesh, they have grievances against the Assamese. What I would say is the Assamese chauvinism. So
Mhm.
Boroland movement is also, Assamese chauvinism had also a great role, triggered the Boro movement
Mhm.
to a great extent. That is why they said, okay, fine, we want a separate state, but ultimately they settled for a Boroland, a sixth schedule status.
Mhm. So now, if one asks you about, let's say, the Assam Accord, right?
Yes.
There were a lot of hopes when it was signed, under the rule of Rajiv Gandhi, and then now we've seen a sort of phase two has been signed. How do you see the utility of both these Assam Accords? Are they of any help? Do you think this will settle the situation there in the coming years?
You see, when Assam Accord was signed in 1985, it brought to an end a 6-year long agitation, which was a historic movement.
Right.
Okay. Assam Accord was not meant to be implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Rajiv Gandhi, former Prime Minister, came and he concluded many accords with the MNF, with the TNV in a very short span of time. Now, Assam Accord was not about refineries or about IITs. It was about illegal immigrants finding a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even till date, there has been no answer about on how to tackle that issue. NRC was a failure. Was a scam. CAG, the Comptroller and Auditor General, has identified a scam of over 200 crores. The government is sitting silent. I don't know for what reasons. Assam Accord was all about detection of foreign nationals and deporting them. Okay, deportation comes at a later phase. That may not be possible. But identification was possible. That has not been done. Even till date, that there is no preventive measure, regime of preventive measures. So, leaving aside Assam Accord, now if you come to this accord now that was signed on 29th of December,
Right.
firstly, nobody is satisfied with that accord.
Okay. Why
Okay,
is that?
okay. The focus of the accord, if you have a look at the accord, many things are tentative. The major demands have not been accepted by the government.
Okay. Like some of the key demands, if you can
Key,
give for our
one
viewers.
demand was ST status to 6 communities.
Okay.
One clause says that the government will now expedite the process. It's very tentative. Second demand was representation of seats in all elected bodies for the indigenous communities. Government said no, it's not possible.
For all the minorities, I mean the tribal communities, you
All
mean?
indigenous communities. That includes Hindus, Muslims, everywhere. Now the
Okay.
problem is, who is an Assamese? That definition, in fact, the people of Assam, or rather the state, and it's a failure of state and society. We have not been able to come up with the definition of Assamese. Who is an Assamese? Where do you get the cutoff here? Now, as you know, in Assam, unlike the rest of the country, the cutoff date for citizenship is 1971.
Right.
For the rest of the country, it's 1950. Now, a case has been filed in Supreme Court. Some civil society groups have challenged this Assam Accord. That how can you have 1971 as the cutoff year for Assam, whereas it's different for the rest of the country. The hearing has been completed. Supreme Court has reserved the judgment. Now, let's see what the judgment is all about. Now, this accord, people have said that, okay, the focus is on development projects. If at all you wanted development projects, why did you go to the jungle? Why kill 2,000 people? I mean, approximately 2,000 to 2,500 Alpha cadres have been killed so far. That is only alpha cadres. Now, if you look at the total tally of how many people killed in insurgency-related violence, it is more than 10,000. That is one thing. Nobody is satisfied. Even if you ask the alpha leaders, pro-Tox alpha leaders, they are themselves not satisfied. But they have a logic. They said, how long will we go on negotiating? We don't want to end up like NSC and IM. Now the pact with NSC and IM and the NNPGs, Naga National Political Groups, that is uncertain. They are determined, okay, we are not going to sign anything until unless you give us a separate flag and a separate constitution. The government is reluctant. Okay, so the talks have stuck. So the alpha leaders say that we don't want to end up in that manner. Talks started from 2011, now it's 12 years. The process started from, I would say, 2009, when the alpha leaders were apprehended in Bangladesh and handed over to India. So they also have a logic. So let us get whatever we have got from the government and let us go ahead. Now, one thing I'd like to tell you, one more thing. People in Assam have to understand one thing, that no organization can come to Delhi and compel the central government to grant concessions.
Right.
Okay, so my view is, you grab whatever has been given by the government. Now the focus should be on implementation. Our society, and I am an Assamese coming from Brahmaputra Valley. My society has failed to tackle some major issues. I'll say that openly. So when you have failed, so let you grab whatever has been given to you. You don't have the capacity to compel the central government to grant you concessions. Assam is in a serious situation. Okay. Now, what has been done cannot be undone. Now let us look ahead now.
So, in terms of, let's say, the demand for a separate homeland, that of course no government will ever agree. What is it that you think could be a solution in today's day and age in Assam?
See, so separate homeland.
Because, why am I asking you this? Because whenever you touch any issue in Northeast, let's say in the case of Assam, you have the Naga issue coming in, Mizoram issue coming in, and of course Manipur. We'll come to that. But how to address all of that?
See, the separate homeland, if you grant a separate homeland to one community, it will open the floodgates for other demands also.
That will be like a Pandora's
Now, I'll give you one
box.
example. Assam has two hill districts, Karbi Anglong and Dima Hasao. Now, they had insurgent outfits, the DHD and UPDS. They also had the demands for separate homelands. If you have a look at the map, both the maps cut into each other's territory. Okay. Now the Greater Nagaland, if you have a look at the Greater Nagaland map, it cuts into it involves includes parts of Assam, also Manipur also. So nobody is going. It will lead to a civil war. So that demand is it's not going to be accepted. Okay. So the best way is integration, I would say. Okay. In every state you go, in Arunachal Pradesh there are 26 major tribes and more than 100 sub tribes. If you talk to the smaller tribes, they will point their fingers at some 2-3 major tribes, that they are garnering everything, they are dominating everything. Likewise in Assam, the complaint by the smaller tribes is against the majority Assamese, the mainstream Assamese communities, that they are trying to, what I said about Assamese chauvinism. Okay. As I've said, my society, Assamese people have failed to gauge these problems and find an answer. When you don't understand the problem, there will be no answers. So the best way is to integrate.
So how many tribes are actually there in Assam now, and who are the dominant ones, if you can tell our viewers?
Okay, there are tribes, I think I forgot the exact numbers. The most dominant tribe are the Boros, or there is a tribe, the T tribes.
Right.
Now there was a demand to include them as scheduled tribes, that has not been accepted now so far. Okay. Now the T tribes have the largest numbers. Second would be the Boros. Third would be, if I'm not wrong, the Karbis. Then you have the Dimasas, Ravas, Tiwas, Missings. These are the major tribes in Brahmaputra Valley. Then you have also tribes from small tribes. You have Kukis also. You have the Mars also. Mars are mainly from Mizoram, but you find them in Dima Hasao. You have Nagas in Assam.
Yes.
Okay. And there are so many tribes. I mean, I have forgotten the exact numbers.
So what are their basic views on this second accord?
See, no, I have not, so far I have not come across any organization which has actually given their views. All the views that you find are from the mainstream Assamese groups.
Right.
Okay, they have been very critical of this accord, very critical. Whatever I found so far in the TV debates and all, very critical. Very critical that if you at all had to bring development projects, why did you go to the jungle? Why did you kill so many people? That is the allegation against the Alpha leaders.
Correct.
Okay, so as by and large, people have not welcomed the agreement. It has been, even the media also, in the discussions also, people, civil society groups have been very critical of this accord.
But how would you sort of assess what the BJP has done? What has happened in Assam has been done mostly by the Congress government, right? Or what is your assessment? Because the BJP now wants to bring in NRC there, also CAA. Will it make the situation more complex, or will it address some of the issues?
You see, as I've said, what Assam needs is a stringent regime of preventive measures. There must be a system. Okay, you identify a foreigner. What to do next? First, he has to go through a judicial process. First the task of detection, then the judicial process. Then after the judicial process, what do? There has to be, the government has to be very clear. There is no answer so far. So in that case, the BJP government has been no different from the Congress regimes.
Okay.
Okay. The Congress had the image, or rather it is true, that the Congress has been very pro-Bengal origin Muslims. And now the BJP has been very pro-Bengal origin Hindus. So in a broader perspective, I see not much of a difference between the Congress and the BJP.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one party is favoring the Muslim, the other party is favoring the Hindus. But when it comes to illegal immigrants, why distinguish them on the basis of religion? An illegal migrant is an illegal migrant. Whether he's from Nepal, whether he's from Bangladesh, whether he's a Hindu or a Muslim. Okay. So if you view that problem in a broader perspective, the BJP and Congress, they are favoring their policies at some point it differs, but at some point it coincides. Okay. Now we are yet to hear from the BJP we don't really know what the BJP government plans to do with the NRC. We don't really know what the BJP government plans to, how do you identify the migrants? Now the NRC identified only 19 lakhs of illegal migrants. Now I refuse to believe that in Assam there are only 19 lakhs of immigrants. It's impossible.
You think the number is more?
Much more.
Okay.
I can tell you the reasons also why the NRC failed. The first mistake was NRC should have been clubbed with the census. NRC was an application based process. Now suppose in the first list my name was not there. Okay. My name was not there. So when I went to the NRC office, they said, no, don't worry. We know many people, genuine citizens' names have not come. They will come. No, nothing to worry. Sit down. Now, what happens in a census? You or I, we don't have to go to the census office. The census people will come to your house.
Yes.
Now, NRC, it was an application-based process. You have to take the application, fill up, give some documents, and then submit it to the NRC center. Many people did not submit the NRC application.
Oh, okay. Why do you think they did that?
Because they're illegal migrants.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, for illegal migrants also, I mean, what I'm trying to say, it will go to everybody, right? The so-called form.
No, you have to take the form from the NRC center. Now, suppose I am an illegal immigrant.
Why should I take the form?
Why should I? I'll get caught.
Okay.
And there was something called a family tree. It was a good system devised by NRC. That I'll have to prove my linkages with other families. If I lie, I'll get caught. But something went wrong in the process. So that was the first mistake committed in the NRC process.
How about things like a birth certificate?
Okay.
That I'm born here.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Isn't that a proof enough?
No,
why do you have to prove your family tree and all of that?
No, in Assam, what has been happening, many documents, now it has reduced, or rather I would say, now the government has become very strict. In the past 4 or 5 decades, it was so very easy to get forged documents. And this is documented. Okay, many cases have been unearthed. So the NRC wanted many things. Even you could get passports also with fake names. Now it has stopped. So getting a ration card, getting other PAN cards, it's very easy. Okay.
I'll come to NRC also because this is like a never-ending debate. But if I can ask you, Rajiv, in today's day and age, in today's world, how relevant is the Alpha? And there are certain elements of Alpha, some top leaders who have also surrendered. They have gone the political way of life. And of course, there is, Paresh Babbar that will come to. But what is the significance and relevance of Alpha today in Assam?
An academic, Professor Sanjeev Barua, in one of his books has written, Alpha is more powerful as an idea than as an insurgent outfit. And that idea remains embedded in the minds of the people in lesser or greater degree. People in Eastern Assam, where Alpha still has some pockets of support, even now people think that Alpha is the answer to also all the problems of Assam. So occasionally you have people crossing the border to Myanmar and joining Alpha. Okay.
So that means Alpha is still active on that side?
Oh yes. Alpha, now Alpha has support. That doesn't mean that everybody would cross the border and join Alpha.
Right.
Occasionally you have cases. Issues raised by Alpha, you cannot discard them. Issues raised by Alpha are very relevant. Okay. You cannot, nobody can come and discard Alpha. Although the relevance of Alpha has gone down, I don't see the possibility of Alpha again reviving and achieving a position of strength as it did in the late 80s and 90s. It's not possible.
Why?
Because people's aspirations have changed, more integration, there are more avenues. Now you have more people coming out from the Northeast and Assam to the metropolises in search of jobs. 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago, these people would have joined Alpha. That holds true with Manipur also, Nagaland, Assam also, Mizoram also. Okay, because of lack of employment avenues, you find more people coming out. You go to a place like Bangalore or Chennai, Northeast people, I mean, you have lots of Northeasterners there working good jobs, in menial jobs also. So Alphas, I don't see the possibility of Alpha reviving again, but the idea remains. Alphas, issues raised by Alpha, you cannot discard them. And I feel, Paresh Babbar has been saying that, okay, I'll talk on Assam's sovereignty. The government is reluctant. But I don't understand one thing. Just talking on sovereignty will not mean that the Northeast and Assam will go away from India. Why doesn't the government have the guts to talk on Assam's sovereignty? Okay? Now, tell me one thing. You have so many insurgent outfits. Even now, there are 6 or 7 separatist outfits. Had they been strong enough, they would have taken Northeast away from India long ago. They have not been able to do that, and they will not be able to do it. Indian state is a mighty state with immense resources. Okay? You cannot do that. India will not break up. But why doesn't the Indian government have the courage, have the guts to talk, okay, come, we'll talk on all issues. That is why I appreciate Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister. When Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, NSA Narayanan issued a letter to Chairman Aurobindo M.K. Narayanan. Okay, we'll discuss on all core issues. And that is the courage you need. Come, you sit on the table, let's talk it out. That doesn't mean Assam and Northeast will go out of the country.
So you basically want all stakeholders to be involved in the discussion, right?
Of course, and all issues.
Who are some of those Alpha leaders you think that the government needs to talk to? And for all practical purposes, we know for a fact, and you're one of the first or probably one of the rarest journalists who have met Paresh Babbar. Is he ready to come and speak to the government?
As he has said, in fact, I spoke to him only 2 days back. Okay. He again told me that, okay, fine, let the government give it in writing that we'll talk on Assam sovereignty, then I'll think about the next process. Now, whether he actually comes or not, that's a different issue. But that is the first precondition. That's what I am saying. The government should have the courage. Okay, come, sit down on the table. We'll talk on all the issues. Where is the harm? There are some genuine grievances of the people of Assam that India has to understand. Okay. Now, in Digboi refinery was the second oldest refinery in Asia. There was no Kaveri basin, then no Bombay, never had crude oil there. So till the 70s, Assam has contributed enough to India, enough to nation building. So Assam, the leaders should understand the people of Assam have genuine grievances. Don't see it only through the prism of politics, Hindu-Muslim. There was no communalism in Assam. Only recently, I think the tide has changed now. Recently, I can see the change. Okay, it was a very secular.
With CA, I think the communalism aspect is also coming in.
Of course. There was no. Assam was Assamese society. Society in Assam was very secular. was very secular.
But Assamese Muslims also had their own grievances.
You see, Assamese Muslims now, the BJP government has said that Assamese Muslim will give them the tag of indigenous community. They are already indigenous. There are five communities among the Assamese Muslims. Okay, they are already indigenous. They are very much part and parcel of. We cannot think about Assamese society without the Assamese Muslims. Okay, many of them were converted to Islam when Bakhtiyar Khalji, General Bakhtiyar Khalji invaded Assam when Qutbuddin Aibak was the Sultan in Delhi. Okay, some of them got converted way back in the early 13th century, much ahead of arrival of many Hindu communities from the rest of the country to Brahmaputra Valley. So they are much older than the Hindu. Some of them are much older than the many Hindu communities.
So tell me something, Rajeev. Now, if you come to the present day situation, where do you see Assam heading now? You have a BJP government there.
Yes.
Do you think the CA&RC will be implemented? We keep hearing the Home Minister. What is your view?
Well, as the Home Minister has said, CAA is going to be implemented. Okay. Now, NRC, the government is silent. Silent because there is a reason also. The NRC was a Supreme Court mandated project. Okay. So the Supreme Court and many affidavits have been lying there. Supreme Court has not come up so far, has not said anything. So the government also cannot do anything on NRC without the Supreme Court's judgment. But besides the NRC, the government can do many things. The government hasn't done anything. As I've told you about preventive measures. Okay. I don't know the reason. Like the Congress, the BJP is also entirely focused on winning elections. Now, so far as the BJP government in Assam is concerned, one good thing is that you see a lot of development going on, fast-tracked. On the other hand, the internal loan, it is now 1,26,000 crores. Okay, the internal loan is shooting up. Another major problem, which I think could be very serious, is river bank erosion. The same old methods, and the government, I don't find government thinking in an innovative manner. You'll have to come up with a solution. I'm told that there have been instances in China, the Huanghe River, the Chinese government has been, I'm not very sure, I've heard about that. The Chinese government has come up with some very effective measures to check river bank erosion. But we don't see the government doing that. Secondly is the deforestation problem. It's going to be a serious problem. Already, if you go to Guwahati parts of Assam, you can feel the climate changing. Okay? But these are very serious problems. I don't really know what the government's plans are. I don't see the government being very serious on these issues. But yes, creation of employment, I can see development projects really shooting up. That's a very positive sign.
So if I can ask you, Rajeev, now good that you spoke about the Chinese aspect. That is also a very big concern every Indian government had. That all these insurgencies, all this demand for a separate homeland, to keep having tensions is being driven by the Chinese, right? How far is that true in the case of Assam?
Okay. You see, we generally have a tendency to equate China's role with Pakistan's role. The two approaches, now there are many rebel leaders from the northeast, not many, I would say a few, still in China. But China's approach and Pakistan's approach, these two approaches are very different. Pakistan wants direct action.
You mean Pakistan's approach in the case of Kashmir?
Kashmir, or maybe what we saw in Mumbai. Okay. We train you, we'll arm you, you have to go inside India and kill people. This is Pakistan's approach. Okay. Now China's approach is different. China, I don't think, will really gain by raking up disturbances in the northeast. Rather, it would be more interested in capturing the market of northeast. Okay. Now, what China is more concerned about Myanmar. Myanmar is very important for China. Mainly because through China, it will have access to the Indian Ocean. Now, if the Myanmar government gets very close to India, China will be very upset. And China has an old policy. You keep some leaders, if necessary, you use them.
Right.
Okay, now problems along the India-Myanmar border, China would be very happy, rather than creating disturbances inside the northeast. That is number one. Number two, what I'm most
That's a very valid point.
What I'm most concerned, as a citizen from Assam, as I've told you, these separatist groups, had they been strong enough, they would have taken away Northeast. They have not been able to do. They will not be able to do that. A very issue which really concerns me, China might try fiddling with the rivers in Eastern Tibet.
Okay. Which I think it is doing to some
To
extent.
some extent, it started already. Now, see, if you have a look at Eastern Tibet, in the world, it is one of the largest sources of fresh water.
Okay.
Okay, virgin area. Now, if they start fiddling with these rivers, all these rivers are, many of them are major tributaries of the Brahmaputra. Now, in the last 20 years, I live in Guwahati. I have seen the river level going down.
Okay.
Okay, now if you go to Arunachal Pradesh, there is a river called Lohit River. It's a beautiful place, a lovely place. You should go and really stay for some time there from Lohit to Anjao district.
Okay.
If you talk to the locals, they will say that in the last maybe 15 years, we have seen the river level, the water level going down. They don't know the reasons. Now, if that happens with all the rivers, the entire ecology might change, and that will spell it'll be a disaster. I see that as a greater danger looming on the horizon than these separatist groups.
Okay. And what do you think the government is doing for that?
See, the Indian government's policy is, okay, fine, let us construct dams in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. Now, see, the dam that has been planned in Dibang Valley, that will, I think, be the biggest dam in India. That's a seismic zone, zone 5.
Prone to massive earthquake.
In Siang, Upper Siang, which borders China, a huge barrage has been planned. Okay. Across all the major rivers, even Subansiri too, is almost completed. Now, if something were to, I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope my pessimism turns out to be false. If something were to happen, if there is a big earthquake, just imagine what will happen. All the big dams on all these big rivers. I mean, see, you cannot compare, don't compare, Northeast is not Haryana or Gujarat. It is more akin to Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Okay? This is not a place where jumbo projects should come up. Yes, we need industries, maybe agro-based industries. Okay? I mean, don't compare the situation in Gujarat or Maharashtra with the Northeast. It's a different place altogether. It's one of the biodiversity hotspots also, besides being a seismic zone 5. So if something were to happen, if a big earthquake comes, I hope I'm proved wrong. Imagine what would happen, what is going to happen. 3 districts, Dhemaji, Dibrugarh, Lakhimpur, they'll be washed out, wiped out.
Well, I'm sure that's a much bigger concern. But now, after China, how big is a threat from Myanmar, right?
Okay.
And I'll come to you because, this is also currently in the news, and, not many people are aware about the fact that India-Myanmar has a porous border that has helped Northeast. That has also been a disadvantageous thing, right? And then the government is now saying that it will do away with the free movement regime. Will it have any impact on Assam? And the fact that do you think these are the short-term measures the government should take?
See, first the government has said that, okay, we'll construct a fence. It is 1600.
Is fencing even possible?
That's what I'm coming to. It is 1643 kilometers, starting from Anjao district in Arunachal Pradesh, and it goes down right to Longtlai district in Mizoram. Some areas, especially in Arunachal, as you go up from Noklak district, Noklak, Mon district, Longding, Tirap, Changlang, it's a treacherous terrain. Constructing a fence there remains to be seen how the government will do, number one. Number two, still there are some disputed areas. In Arunachal, there is a enclave. The 2 countries have not come to a solution. So completing the fence completely. Oh, well, I agree. Manipur, the government is very determined to come up with the fence in Manipur. Already 10 kilometers have been completed.
Yes.
Now, Nagaland has said, new party has said that there is going to be bloodshed. We are not going to allow the fence to come up. Okay. Now, unlike the other borders, this India-Myanmar border, it is a bridge. It doesn't divide, it unites people. That is the positive part. Now, the negative part is that from Myanmar has been flooded with drugs, heroin and ATS, Yaba tablets. Every week there is a seizure of drugs from Manipur, either in Mizoram or in Assam. As I have written that in Diplomat, the Northeast has become a corridor. Consignments come to the Northeast, they go to Bangladesh. And if some resistance leaders of Myanmar who I interviewed recently, they say that from Bangladesh it goes to the Middle East. Okay. Now, right on the border in Dhubri district, many consignments from Myanmar have been apprehended, even in Tripura also. So it comes from Myanmar, goes to the border and to Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a huge demand. Per day demand of Yaba tablets is 20 lakhs in Bangladesh. Much more, if not less. 20 lakh tablets.
I'm sure they're finding their way in the Northeast also.
Yes. So this is a problem. I don't know what the government has plans. I mean, so much of drugs is coming. So much. Especially heroin number 4 and the ATS tablets. Now there is a place, if you see the map, there is a place called Manipur, Churachandpur district.
Yes.
Below Churachandpur is a place called Tonjang in Chin state. According to a UNODC report, poppy cultivation has gone up. And I am told by my sources that even heroin labs have come up there.
Churachandpur is where the Indian officer, the personnel, was killed.
Yeah.
And so all those threats are still remaining.
So below Churachandpur, you have a huge territory of poppy cultivation, and I am told that even heroin labs have come up there. Okay, so these are genuine problems. So how you tackle them as the border is very porous, and because of unemployment, people who used to be gun runners earlier along the border, they have now switched over to drugs and betel nuts.
Okay.
Now there is no demand for guns in the Northeast. Okay, insurgency related incidents have gone down. So who will purchase the guns? Now these people in the border, they have switched over to drugs and betel nuts and other items also. Exotic animals. One kangaroo was apprehended, I think, in Siliguri last year. It came all the way from Australia. Some exotic animals.
So you're saying all this will be impacted with the fencing?
See, as I've told you, fencing remains to be seen. It might take many years to be completed. Okay.
And what about the FMR?
Free movement regime, you see, remains to be seen. I don't know how the government is going to.
I mean, the Home Minister said last week that it has already been suspended with immediate effect. And now the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, is in the process of scrapping it completely.
Okay.
Is that even possible?
Scrapping is officially it's possible, but unofficially, the Assam rifles cannot guard every inch of the border.
Mm-hmm.
If you have seen the India-Myanmar border, you just have to walk into it. It's so free. Okay, you cannot guard every inch of the border. Officially, it's fine. You announce that okay, FMR is finished. We'll come up with a fence. But on the ground, is it really possible? That's a big question mark.
But being an expert on Northeast, how do you think? Let's say if it is done hypothetically, how will that impact the equilibrium in the Northeast region? Because there are so many tribes, ethnicities, and the FMR has helped in a way.
Yes.
Yes, it had disadvantages, but it has helped also.
Yes. See, firstly, India-Myanmar border region, especially on the Myanmar side, it's the most underdeveloped region in Myanmar. As it's more underdeveloped if you go up towards Arunachal Pradesh.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even find very few villages. So once the FMR is suspended, if the government becomes very strict, okay, we will apprehend all Myanmarese nationals coming to India, they are going to suffer more. Okay, rather than the people on the Indian side. And of course, the ethnic ties, it will be ruptured. That's why Nagaland has come up with so strong statements that we are not going to allow it to happen. Even Mizoram civil society groups have also said, no, it's not, it is not going to be feasible. If the fence comes up in Manipur, the agency that will be the most happy is the Myanmar military regime.
So just to continue and to understand finally from you, Rajeev, tell me about your interactions, which our viewers would also need to know with Paresh Babbar, right?
Yeah.
You've had a conversation, you continue to have the interaction. How relevant is he in today's world? Does he have a succession plan? What is happening to his movement? And do you think this government is serious about him? Because, why I'm asking, because although it's not the same, in Kashmir, we've seen how the role of the Hurriyat leaders have completely sort of, wiped away now, washed
Yes.
away.
Yeah.
Although the Hurriyat keeps on doing their stuff, the activities that they need to do. What is the situation in Assam and Northeast?
See, so far as the strength of the Alpha independent faction is concerned, I think it should be around 300 only. That is number one. Across the border. They have 4 camps now in Myanmar. So far as the government's approach is concerned, I don't really think the government is very serious to bring him to the negotiating table. I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Is he willing to come?
As I've said, he has given a precondition.
Okay.
If the government accepts, he says that you give it to me in writing, that the government is going to talk on Assam sovereignty, which I don't really think the government would be very keen to do that. Okay. And the government doesn't seem to me that government is very serious to bring him to the negotiating table. Okay. The government could be serious to bring back those boys from the camps in Myanmar. These are constant efforts. Okay. This is a continuous process. There are so many agencies involved. There's a competition between them also. Now, suppose an officer from an agency, if is able to create a rift and bring back 30 boys and make them and compel them to surrender, it might even give him a promotion also.
Mm-hmm.
So this is so far as the government's approach is concerned. About his succession plan, that remains to be seen actually. That is not very clear. And people's aspirations have changed now. In the 90s, if you had 100, 200 people going and joining Alpha every year, now you may have only 10 people going and 10 or maybe 20 people going and joining Alpha. So people's aspirations have changed, their mindsets have changed, the way they look at Alpha has changed, but the idea remains embedded in the minds of the people.
Mm-hmm. And we'll just wind this up, Rajeev. My final question to you, in very few short lines, if you can tell us. I know it is very difficult, but what is the future of Assam? Because that is linked with other northeastern states.
I see some kind of a mixed future. In terms of development, yes. I see a very positive trajectory. Development projects have taken up, have gone up. And thanks to Chief Minister, the current Chief Minister, Himanta Biswa Sarma, you will have to give credit to him in certain ways. At the same time, corruption has shot up. Okay.
Can it be another Manipur there?
I don't see the possibility. Manipur's social configuration, politics, it's different from Assam.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of development, in terms of creation of employment avenues, I see a very bright future. But I am really concerned about the environmental issues. So because I don't see the government being very serious to tackle those issues. And as you know, the climate change problem, you cannot just wish them, you cannot ignore them. Riverbank erosion is a very serious issue. I think it deserves much more attention. Deforestation also. Because I love forests, I love the hills. Maybe also because of that, I am more concerned. That is also possible. But these problems are real. So this is some kind of a mixed scenario that I see for the future in Assam. Also for the entire Northeast.
Sure. Thank you so much,
Thank
Rajeev.
you.
Thank you for all that. I know many questions are left unanswered, but for all that, you can catch his book, Alpha, The Mirage of Dawn. It will have and it will give you the answers that you probably need to understand why Assam or the Northeast, the issues that we see, the relevance yesterday it was, and what is going to be in the future. You can grab a copy of this book. Thank you for watching this interaction. For ABP Live, this is Nayanima Basu.